Somewhere on this planet right now, an animal is freezing solid, stopping its own heart, and waiting to come back to life. Not in a story, not in a movie. Right now, what if death wasn't the end for some creatures, just a really long pause? Visual idea, slow-motion macro shot of a tardigrade curling into a dry, shriveled ball, then a time-lapse rehydration sequence where it suddenly twitches back to life. This is Bioverse Explained, where the impossible turns out to be biology. Today we're meeting 4 animals that break the rules of life and death. By the end you'll know how one creature survives the vacuum of space. You'll know which animal can reverse its own aging. And you'll know why a worm living next to boiling toxic vents might hold a clue to alien life. Let's start small. Microscopically small. The tardigrade, sometimes called a water bear, lives almost everywhere on Earth. Moss, soil, deep ocean trenches, Antarctic ice. It's barely half a millimeter long. Picture a chubby, 8-legged gummy bear you'd need a microscope to see. There are over 1,300 known tardigrade species. In 2007, scientists sent tardigrades into low Earth orbit on the Photon M3 mission. They were exposed directly to the vacuum of space and cosmic radiation. Most survived. Here's the myth people believe, that tardigrades are basically indestructible superheroes. The truth is stranger. They're not tough, they're absent. When threatened by drought, a tardigrade pulls almost all the water from its body, curls up, and drops its metabolism to nearly 0%. It's not surviving the disaster. It's choosing not to be there for it. This trick has a name. Scientists call it cryptobiosis, a hidden life state where biological time basically stops. Inside the tardigrade's shriveled body, special proteins called tardigrade-specific intrinsic disordered proteins turn from liquid into a glass-like solid. This glass traps and protects the animal's DNA and cell structures, like packing fragile glass ornaments in solid foam. Years can pass, decades even. Then add a single drop of water, and the glass dissolves, the cells rehydrate, and the tardigrade simply gets up and walks away. In 2016, Japanese researchers revived tardigrades that had been frozen for over 30 years, and one of them went on to lay eggs that hatched successfully. Read that again. 30 years frozen. Then babies. But freezing time is nothing compared to what's happening in the waters off Japan and Italy. Meet Turritopsis Dohrnii, the so-called immortal jellyfish. It's tiny, about 4 to 5 millimeters wide, almost see-through, shaped like a tiny upside-down umbrella. When this jellyfish is injured, starving, or simply old, it does something no other known animal does. It reverses its own development. Its specialized adult cells transform backward into earlier life stage cells, and the entire jellyfish collapses into a blob called a polyp. From that polyp, a brand new genetically identical jellyfish grows. It's not reproduction. It's the same individual, rewound. Researchers led by Maria Pia Miglietta have observed this reversal happen repeatedly in lab colonies, again and again, with no natural limit yet discovered. In theory, barring predators, disease, or disaster, this jellyfish never has to die of old age. Now we go deep, 2.5 kilometers down, where sunlight has never once touched the ocean floor. Water boils out of cracks in the Earth's crust at temperatures that would cook flesh instantly. Living right there, often just centimeters from the scalding vent water, is the Pompeii worm, Alvinella pompigana. Its tail can tolerate water near 80 degrees Celsius, while its head pokes into water closer to 22 degrees Celsius. That's a temperature gradient across one small worm's body that would be lethal to nearly every other animal on Earth. How does it survive this? The worm builds a tube home and grows a fuzzy coating of symbiotic bacteria across its back, which scientists believe acts as a living layer of insulation. It's an animal wearing a microbial sweater, on the edge of what was thought to be the hottest habitable environment on the planet. Here's the part that should genuinely blow your mind. The proteins inside this worm's body don't just resist heat. They appear to function better in conditions that would unfold and destroy proteins in literally every other complex animal studied. For decades, biologists assumed there was a hard temperature ceiling for animal life, somewhere around 50 degrees Celsius, past which proteins simply fall apart. The Pompeii worm operates near that ceiling and beyond it in localized pockets, forcing scientists to push back their assumptions about where life's boundaries actually are. And that brings us to the biggest survivor of them all, the Greenland shark. This is where things get almost too strange to believe. Greenland sharks live in the frigid waters of the North Atlantic and Arctic Ocean, growing slowly, moving slowly, and aging at a pace that breaks every comparison we have. In a landmark 2016 study published in the journal Science, researchers led by Julius Nielsen used radiocarbon dating on the lenses of Greenland shark eyes. The oldest shark they examined was estimated to be around 392 years old, with a possible range stretching close to 500. Let that settle. A shark alive today could have been swimming when the telescope was invented. A shark could be older than the United States by centuries. Greenland sharks don't even reach sexual maturity until roughly 150 years old. Their entire concept of a normal life is unrecognizable to ours. Why does any of this matter to you? Because every one of these survival tricks is now being studied for human use. Tardigrade proteins are being researched to help stabilize vaccines and medical materials without refrigeration, since that protective glass-like state could one day protect temperature-sensitive medicines during shipping to places without reliable power. Scientists studying the immortal jellyfish's cellular reversal are hoping to understand how some human cells age and whether that process could ever be slowed or partially reset. And the heat-tolerant proteins inside deep-sea vent worms are inspiring new research into industrial enzymes that function in extreme heat, the kind used in manufacturing and biotechnology. The Greenland shark, meanwhile, is rewriting what biologists thought they knew about the genetics of aging itself, since its DNA may hold clues about why some animals barely age at all. But here is the twist that ties everything together, and it's the part most people miss completely. We tend to think of survival as fighting harder, running faster, growing bigger defenses. Every animal in this video proves the opposite. The tardigrade survives by basically disappearing, not fighting. The jellyfish survives by going backward instead of forward. The Pompeii worm survives by partnering with bacteria instead of resisting heat alone. The Greenland shark survives simply by refusing to rush, living at a pace evolution rarely allows. None of these animals beat death through strength. They beat it through patience, surrender, reversal, and timescales that make human lifespans look like a single blink. The most successful survival strategy on Earth might not be toughness at all. It might be the willingness to slow down so completely that death itself loses track of you. That idea alone should change how you think about what strong even means in biology. So here's what we learned today. Some animals survive by erasing themselves temporarily rather than resisting harm. Some animals can rewind their own aging instead of just slowing it. And some animals are quietly living on a timeline that makes human history look brief. If you had to choose one of these 4 survival tricks for yourself, freezing time, reversing your age, tolerating extreme heat, or living for centuries, which one would you actually want? Tell me in the comments, because I genuinely want to argue about this with you. If this blew your mind even a little, hit like. It actually helps this channel reach more curious people like you. And subscribe if you want more of this. There's one more animal we didn't mention today, one that doesn't avoid death or slow it down. It does something far stranger to it. We'll get into that next time.